Okay, guys, since it's Easter, in honor of Easter, we've always had a family tradition of doing ham for Easter. So I have made a homemade glaze to baste your ham in. Please enjoy. Okay, for the glaze of our ham, our spiral ham, um, one of the things it calls for is the rind of a orange. So I have this cool little gadget here that actually has two different sides to it. It has a very fine grind and a little bit larger one maybe for garlic. This is actually what I used for the carrots in my ramen recipe. And this one I used to actually zest the rind of the orange. So I want to demonstrate this for you, and I will have a link in the description below on for Amazon where I purchased this at. So if you just take your orange and you just come in here, and the key to this is you just want to get maybe one or two swipes of the orange. If you look at that, you'll see we're just barely taking the top off. If you go too deep, you get that white part. It's very bitter, so you do not want that. You want to make sure you're getting just the top. So I'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so there. And you always want to turn your zester over and then make sure you get all that what's underneath there too. Alright, and then in my cup here I have about 3 oranges squeezed, or you can use just plain orange juice. That's what I have here, and it's about almost a cup. And then I have 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar that's going to go into this. And I'm going to take it up and bring it up to medium heat. And then to this, I actually have here 1 cup of brown sugar. You can use light or dark, it does not matter. And I have about 1/4 of a cup of mustard. Once again, you do not have to write these recipes down. The description will be in the link below with the actual recipe. Go ahead and put in my brown sugar and then my mustard. With the mustard, you could use dark mustards, grainy mustards, things like Grey Poupon, things like that. I like a little bit more of a sour profile than a savory profile. Alright, I also have here about 2 cloves of garlic that's been minced. I have about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. I'm going to go ahead and add to this as well. And all we're going to do is bring this up to temperature and let it simmer until it becomes a thick glaze, about 10-15 minutes on medium heat. Well, almost all your hams come with a packet of basting solution. I never use that. It's full of different types of sodiums and preservatives that we just do not consume. I don't care for it, so I've always opted to make my own. Just want to show you, this is on about medium to medium low heat. So you can see just how this is simmering. It's not boiling, it's just simmering. And that's kind of how you want this to ultimately end up doing for about 15 minutes. It's just simmering. You don't want to cook it too fast, it'll caramelize and burn. And if you cook it too slow, then it won't reduce enough to actually make a glaze. So this cooked about 20 minutes on medium low. And you'll know it's going to be kind of a little thick, syrupy. See if you can see that. Thick and syrupy. That's what we want for our glaze. So I'd say, yep, that's done. Okay guys, so here we have a boned in spiral ham. This is a Smithfield, I believe. It's already pre-cooked, pre-smoked. It's spiral. And the reason why I like to use a spiral ham is because they have already cut all the sections for you. So if you look over here, you'll see how these are already pre-cut. And that allows for us to actually get our glaze back in there so that the whole ham becomes flavored and not just the outside. The other reason why I like a bone-in ham is you have the bone. You can make split pea soup, baked beans, regular beans, all kind of beans. That bone gives it a good flavor. So, how I based mine is I have a silicone brush here, and I'll put a link in the description below on where you can get this. But I like these because they're sanitary. None of the bristles will fall out into your food, and they're easy to clean, and they go right in the dishwasher. So that's why I like those a lot. Our glaze is starting to set up, and if you look, you'll see it's turned into almost a syrup. That's what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my brush down inside of my glaze here. I also wanted to tell you that I didn't have a roasting pan. So I actually took a 9-inch baking pan for cakes and then put our cookie cooling rack on top of it. And that's what I'm going to use to cook my ham on, since I don't have a roasting pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and get my brush loaded up, and then I'm going to baste right inside of this, just like this. And of course you're going to do the outside as well. But when you get this inside all these layers, you will actually get this sauce in between, so you get all that flavor down inside each of the slices. Now this is a little bit of work, but trust me, the end product will speak for itself. See, I'm just getting that in there. Each of those layers. And that's what's really nice about these spiral hams, is they're pre-cut. If yours is not cut, you can very carefully spiral it yourself. It does take a little bit of work, and energy, and time, and patience. And then typically you don't have even slices. Okay, so there we go, all the way down there to the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and baste, and what I'm doing is basically I'm basting this with half the sauce, or the glaze, because I'm going to come in here and then halfway through its cooking cycle I'm going to glaze the outside again. So I'm just going to turn him, and I'm going to find where that spiral is. This side is not as easy to get into. We'll make it happen. And you're just literally flipping through each of the layers and getting this sauce down in there. A little bit in between each layer. And see, with the silicone brush, I don't have to worry about, oh, did some of the bristles come off in my ham? And then if you're taking this to free, you just don't want those bristles. So a silicone basting brush is the only way to go. Alright. Go ahead, turn him around, and then do this side. And you'll notice that I've got about, when you're done doing this, you'll have about 50% of the mixture left. And that's what you should have. Alright, there we go. So now I'm just going to make sure I got him coated on the top here. And this makes such a huge difference by taking this little bit extra time. And this is how we do it in the restaurant, is we actually take our time with these little extra details. And that's why when you go to a restaurant, you typically, if you go to a good restaurant, will notice a huge difference. You're like, how do they do that? Time. It's time in the recipes. Alright, so that's pretty well glazed. We're just going to set this aside and come back to him halfway through our cooking cycle. Okay, so in this measuring cup I have about 2 cups of hot water. Just microwaved it to get it to boil. And I'm actually going to pour that down inside the pan, not on the ham, inside the pan. And what this is going to do is allow us to allow the ham to stay moist. This is how you'll have a lot of dry hams. It's because there was no way to keep it moist. A lot of people just throw these in a pan, down inside the pan, baste it, throw it in the oven, wrap it up, and just sets and dries out. And then we're going to tent our ham. So what I do is I get enough tin foil to go across the top. Peg it. This is called tenting your ham. And then I'm going to take another piece. And I'm going to go. Okay, now we're going to put him in the oven for about an hour and a half, depends on the weight of your ham. This one's about 10 pounds, so it's about 15 minutes per 10 pounds. We'll put him in at 325 degrees for about an hour and a half, and we'll come back and do our second basting. Okay, so I've got a preheated oven here. You want to make sure it's all the way preheated before you put your ham in. But I'm going to put him on the lower third rack. The lower third rack, got room for the top, and it's just going to set in there and cook for the next hour and a half. So I'll see you guys in an hour and a half. Okay, so our ham has been in for an hour and a half, and I'm going to go ahead and take our top off. And then this is going to be our second basting. So I've got my leftover glaze here, and I'm literally just going to paint the rest of this on the outside of the ham. And then now I'm going to also move my temperature of my oven up to 375 degrees. with the foil back on. Let's get the last scoop out here. Okay, now we're just going to put our covering back on loosely, and then it's going to go back in the oven for another hour. Okay, so our ham, we're going to actually bake it to last 30 minutes with the top off. So I'm going to take off our tent, and I'm going to allow that ham, the outside actually, to caramelize, put a crust on it. So we'll see what that looks like in about 30 minutes. Okay guys, it is time to take out this ham. It has been cooking for about 20 to 30 minutes with the table tent off the top of it. I just want to pull it out so you guys can take a look here and see how nice it has baked up. And you can see it has a beautiful crust to it. The outside is very nice. All these layers were basted full of flavor. So what we're actually going to do is just let this set out for about 15 to 20 minutes and just let all the juices actually absorb back into the ham before we cut it. Okay, so here we have our traditional Easter dinner. This will be published actually, so you'll get to see this on Easter Day. We're doing ours a day early. But we have all the recipes will be linked below so that you can make each of these items yourself. We have the spiral ham that has the homemade glaze on it. We have the homemade creamed corn and then baked it. We have barbecue baked beans, and then we have the potato salad. So I'm actually going to go ahead and cut into the ham. And just so you know, this is a spiraled ham, so it's already pre-cut. So the only thing I'm doing is I'm going to find the bone, which is right here, and I'm going to take my knife close to the bone, and I'm actually just going to cut down towards that bone and then out. And now you can actually follow the bone all the way through. But I'm just going to do enough of this to get some slices off. Then you'll come to the bottom where you hit the next bone. That's where you want to stop. Don't saw through the bone. So this is the layers that we basted in between with our sauce that we made. So we'll go ahead and take a couple pieces of that off. And then we have our creamed corn that's been baked. Our nice cracker crumb top. So I'm going to take, I'm going to spoon some out, and you can see it's set up nice. It's baked all the way through. It's nice and hot. And then I have my baked beans. They've got a nice crust on top of them that's cooked. So I'll go ahead and put a spoonful of those on. And then last but not least, I have my potato salad. I'm going to put a dollop on here. And then I'm just going to move this stuff back a little bit. So there's our finished plate right there. And we're all going to dig in and try a piece of the ham first. Let's see how that cooked up. I bet the lady behind the camera is starving to death and wants to try this too. Okay, so we've got 3 pieces of ham here. So I'm going to grab a piece of the ham here and give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Pretty good. Not what I expected, but that is very good. Mm-hmm.
You taste the orange in it, the brown sugar, all the flavors. Much better than that packet of stuff that you get that comes with the ham.
I thought it was going to be much, much more hard.
It's very tender. That's the difference between putting a top over your ham or leaving it bake.
Today I'm going to be demonstrating a safety rule that you're not allowed to be doing around horses. So, here we go. Right.